From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a huge night for June 16th, 2022, as Wall Street sees the worst happening by the minute and by the hour. The breaking news tonight is that the Dow Jones fell 800 points today, 230,000 new jobless claims released this morning, and gas prices continue to surge higher. We'll go over why the data at issue continues to erode and why the situation continues to get worse. The situation at hand is the downward spiral in this economy, and no time to wait, because a forced stimulus check is now in every U.S. state. You got that forced stimulus check tonight, because the economy tonight is going to be a lot worse by September. That's phase 2 I'm reporting on this channel. Phase 3 is happening next year, a recession. And the downward spiral of this economy means that with 800 points down today, 600 points last week, 600 points the day before, we're just getting started as the implosion of this economy continues. A lot of other breaking news today as housing numbers continue to slump again, another day consecutive. Auto sales continue to make no sense as Elon Musk announces he's raising the prices on his cars after he's laying off 10% of his workforce. Consumer confidence continues to fall dramatically, gas lower, not happening, and also prices of goods going higher. We're going to go over the storm out to sea and what it means for your money. The general concession tonight is that raising of the interest rates last night from the Federal Reserve is not going to solve inflation. And if it's not going to solve inflation, then what does it mean? It means that the CPI is going to go higher, gas is going to go higher, and the Dow Jones will continue to fall dramatically day after day. In tonight's recording, we do have some really great news, and that great news is that there's a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state, and we're going to go over those checks in every U.S. state over this big broadcast. Step 1, go under this video and become a member. Step 2, get the newsletter and get those big checks. Step 3, stay with me over this big broadcast. We're going to get all this huge money. And then we have the exciting details of your benefits going up. It's a big night from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Good evening. It's America's most watched show for financial news in prime time. It's Evenings LA, and the breaking news on Wall Street to Main Street starts right now. Good evening, everybody. It's June 16, 2022, and the situation is getting worse by the minute. The Dow ended 800 points down today, 200,000 new jobless claims this morning, and gas prices going higher. What is that takeaway for you? You can't wait to get a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. You need to become a member. A forced stimulus check is now in every U.S. state, upwards of $80,000. Thank goodness. You qualify. Single individual, $75,000 or less. Married couple, $150,000 or less. If you rent, if you own, if you're on benefits like SSI and SSDI, you can get these forced stimulus checks. They're monster ones. Upwards of $80,000. How do you get them? You stay with me over this 1 hour special news report tonight. You become a member, go under the video, hit the join button. You get the newsletter Monday through Friday, and you stay with me over the second half of this video. We're going to go over those huge checks. Tonight, we have a lot of breaking news tonight, folks, and it is really troubling. First, the breaking news as we start this evening is the Dow Jones fell 800 points again today. This troubling situation is really the result of Jay Powell and his interest rate spikes. The last time he had an interest rate spike, the Dow traded up that day, and then the next day it plummeted. That's what happened today. The Dow Jones was up yesterday, and today it's down another 800 points. We started the day with 230,000 new jobless claims for unemployment, and also we started with the gas prices going higher. So much at issue, and that is why you can't wait to get that forced stimulus check, because this economy is spiraling down out of control. In tonight's recording, you're going to see three things. You're going to go over where the analysis is today, where this economy is right today, where the economy is going, and then we'll get some checks for you later in this recording. The situation tonight for June 16, 2022 is that Americans believe we're in a recession. We're not. Americans believe this is the worst as the economy is going to be. It's not. And Americans believe that the situation will end very quickly and then we'll be rebounded across the board. It's not. It's not. The situation is that this is what I call phase one of three phases. Phase one is the downward spiral of this economy. From February of this year to September, it's an abrupt change of focus. It's a change of direction very quickly. And millions of Americans are getting lost in the equation. They think that the situation may be February when it's suddenly a very dire situation changing dramatically. It started this morning before sunrise when the new unemployment claims were released. The second thing this channel does is it gives you predictions, whether they're out 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year. And over the last year, my track record has been 100% accurate every single time. I did it again this morning when I said there was going to be 230,000 new jobless claims. The number came in today. Wall Street was expecting 217,000. It came in at 229,000. Right on the money with my 230,000 new jobless claims predictions. The Department of Labor announced that, and it also reassessed the numbers for the week before. Moreover, continuing unemployment claims are 1.3 million across the board. This is a horrible number. This is a horrible number. We learned last week that these unemployment numbers are coming especially from small business owners who are closing their doors for good. Overnight, one video went viral overseas as one business owner said he's breaking down in tears live on air, saying he's going to lose his business. He cannot do this any longer. We had hospitality with the head of Starbucks saying restaurants, even small mom and pop, are going to go under because they cannot survive the supply chain disruption across the board. It's driving prices up. Now, let's go to that unemployment situation and why it's so important for you to understand it right now. It's important to understand it right now to get that forced stimulus check in every U.S. state because one of the most important parts of stimulus is unemployment. You may not be employed. You may be a retiree. You may be on SSI and SSDI. But employment is one of the major driving forces for stimulus. And when people become unemployed, they look for stimulus checks. They look for stimulus. They will try to eat up every amount of stimulus that's available if they get employed tomorrow. And that is why you need to get these checks later in this recording, because guess what? The storm out to sea is just starting and the unemployment numbers continue to grow. You and I understood that unemployment was a big problem weeks ago, almost months ago. When we saw Walmart report corporate earnings and saying there's too many employees on the floor, then I asked you in the live chats in the last recent weeks, do you see less employees in the store? You said yes. Well, this is what's going to happen in September. My prediction is that millions of Americans will be laid off, and they may think that this is February. They may think they can go next door to that employer next door and get a job, even ask for a hiring raise, even ask for a signing bonus, and the business next door will be closed, will be shut for good. Unemployment surging out of control, and it started with 10% of Elon Musk laying off his 10% of workforce at Tesla laid off by Elon Musk. It started yesterday with Coinbase announcing 18% of its employment being laid off. And when you see 229,000 new jobless claims this week, you're worried. You got to be worried because we're not on lockdown, and this is a horrific number. Now, breaking news tonight is that one analyst believes that we may already be in recession. Are we in recession tonight? The recession tonight is really one of the new debate subject matters. Why? Because the word recession is a technical term, and a lot of people are debating the technicalities of the term. When you say recession, you basically said the economy is spiraling downward. Well, not exactly. It actually has to be a little bit more empirical than that. But Destination's wealth manager, Michael Hoshanam, says that we're currently going to go into recession in the third quarter of this year. Do I agree that by the third quarter of this year, we're going to be in recession? No. What does Americans believe? They believe we're in recession tonight. Now, that's even more troubling. Because if they believe in recession tonight, they think this is the worst it's going to get. It's not. This is phase one. By September of this year, this economy will mirror lockdown of March of 2020. And that is why you can't wait to get stimulus across the board. You got to get the money as quickly as it can. What's at issue tonight is that a lot of Americans are doing things the wrong way, and I'm not just talking about the stock market crash of 2022. I'm not just talking about the housing market crash of 2022. I'm talking about how they're dealing with their money. And how they're dealing with their money is wrong. And the analysis coming in tonight is shocking. A new report says that nearly 50% of seniors 55 years or older are increasing debt spending. They're raising the debt amounts on their credit card. They're spending a lot of money of debt on their credit card, and they're dipping into their savings. This is what you're not going to do if you're a viewer of this channel. We don't do that because Jay Powell is going to raise those interest rates time and time again, and your debt will be higher. We also know that inflation is going to continue to track higher. Why? Because Elon Musk, for example, tonight announced that his cars are going to be $6,000 more than they were last week as he lays off 10% of his workforce. More about that in a second. And we also see that corporate bankruptcies are surging out of control as Revlon announced Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection today, and millennials are now worried that they should not buy anything. They're not buying cars, they're not buying homes, they're not buying anything because they cannot afford the debt for it, and they're worried they won't be able to keep their jobs. Even corporate America is hitting the millennials. Meantime, the Bank of England announced that it's doing 5 interest rate spikes and your treasury yields going higher. Why is it so important to understand, and why is these interest rate spikes so scary? Here's the takeaway tonight of what you need to know when you're looking at this phase one. When you're looking at this phase one tonight, you need to get that forced stimulus check in every U.S. state, and you got to be prepared for what's coming up next. At issue is Jay Powell and his interest rate spikes. Yesterday, the head of the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell, announced a 0.75 basis point increase for those interest rates. And with that, what's he going to do next? In July, I'm predicting he's going to do 0.75 again, and then in half in September, they're off in August, and then half again in October, a quarter in November. 2 of the major banks also co-subscribe to my analysis on that tracking. If that's the case, then you need to get rid of tonight, right away, any flexible interest rate items at home. Get rid of credit card debt. Pay it off right away. Get rid of a flexible mortgage rate. Lock in a fixed mortgage rate. Get rid of car loans. Pay them off or switch them to fix. Because look at that. 3/4, half. Imagine how high interest rates are going to be. It's going to be out of control. If you have a home and you're trying to sell the home, sell it really quickly, slash the price, because the housing market crash is underway and the buyers are not going to be able to afford a mortgage rate of 6%. No one's going to be able to. It was 3% earlier this year. If you have those types of interest rate spikes in the next 4 meetings, imagine how high the mortgage rates are going to be. Now, today, a lot of people were calling this Interest Rate Liberty Day. What? What does that mean? It means that central banks from the United States yesterday to Swiss banks today, which have never touched the interest rates in nearly 20 years. And even the Bank of England, which announced earlier today that it's raising a 5th consecutive interest rate hikes. Central banks historically have manufactured a way to keep interest rates at 0% throughout this entire bull market, throughout this entire boom economy, manufacturing a fake 0% interest rate. And now they're not doing it anymore today. And analysts believe that this is the new future. This is the new normal. You're never going to see that 0% interest rates in central banks from the United States to England to even Switzerland. And this is a big one. Why? Because analysts are saying people were playing a game with what I call silliness. And a comment came out minutes ago from Mohammed El-Hararian today. He's chief investment analyst at Alliance, and he says, about time we exit this artificial world of predictable mass liquidity injections where everyone got used to zero interest rates, where we do silly things, where we're investing in parts of the market we shouldn't be investing in, or investing in an economy that doesn't make sense. We're exiting that regime, and it's going to be bumpy. Same narrative. We're exiting the landscape of nearly 20 years of a bull market created by manufactured 0% interest rates in the United States and the Western allies. You're not going to see it anymore. This is going to be a big change for so many industries. Let's go over all of those industries starting right now. First, breaking news tonight on many fronts is that the gasoline prices are going higher. They're not impacted by the interest rates. I'll explain that to you in a second. And what we are seeing tonight is that several industries that are impacted on these numbers are getting worse by the minute. Let's look at them right now. The housing industry is slumping day after day. The housing industry was down 17% year to date a month ago, but will continue to get worse. Why? Because the mortgage rates are out of control now. 5%, they're going to go to 6%. And as they go higher, no one's going to be able to afford a home. If you have a home, get it sold really quickly. If you want to buy a home, you're not going to be able to afford it. Step away and figure out how to rent. That's the landscape of what's happening left and right. Now, the home builders yesterday reported the lowest lowest confidence level they've seen of a generation. Why? Because they're running on fake narratives, what I call that silliness again. The home builders thought they could raise the price of the home to offset the increased material costs, to then give themselves the same profit levels they had last year. That's not working. And they aren't the only industry that is playing around with that silliness, as I'm calling it tonight. The other industry doing that as well, auto, with Elon Musk announcing today that he's raising the price of cars in his fleet nearly $6,000 a car. Silliness? Yes. Auto sales were already down 24% year to date. As Americans don't have the money to buy the car, they don't have the money to finance the car. They can't afford the financing of the car because guess why? The interest rates are through the roof. So what are the auto salesmen doing as they see the material costs going through the roof? Elon Musk's example, he's raising the price of the cars, $6,000 a car. Why do you think Tesla shares plummeted today? Because I understood it's a narrative that doesn't make sense. Storm out to sea. The storm out to sea is in many different forms, and that storm out to sea is literally even the travel and leisure industry. It was no less than a week ago I said, you know what? When an economy goes down, people are not going to spend $500 a person to fly in domestic U.S. on an airline. And I said that narrative is going to change very quickly. It did. In less than 1 week, people were happy to pay $500 on a ticket they bought for Memorial Day weekend, which is probably a ticket they bought back in February and the economy was good. Said no more. I'm not paying $500 for a round trip ticket in the United States for myself. That's 200% more than it was a year ago. The airlines, again, silliness. They're trying to get the same profit out of you they got before by raising the price of the ticket for you. It didn't work. Bookings are now down 3%. And tonight, breaking news as well. Other travel and leisure, especially the cruise industry, is plummeting. Cruise stocks tonight are the lowest we've seen since the pandemic. Why? Because they're thinking of raising fuel costs. Consumers are not going to pay a higher cruise price. They're not going to pay double the cruise price you paid a year ago. And then analysts saying, we've learned it doesn't work with housing. It doesn't work with auto. It doesn't work with airlines, and it ain't going to work with cruises. You can't just keep on raising prices and expect the consumer to give you the same profit level. You have to make less profit and keep the same level of that item. Now, tonight we have a lot of other details hitting, and those other details hitting across the board is the reaction from Wall Street to that Federal Reserve interest rate spike last night. Why is Federal Reserve interest rate spikes having an impact on the stock market 24 hours later? We saw that last time. Last time, when the Federal Reserve announced its interest rate spike, we did not see the hit on the economy, or especially on the stock market, to really formulate until 24 hours later. That's what's happening tonight as well. Why is that? And let me explain the situation across the board. When that Federal Reserve announcement came in last night, the stocks traded up. Today, they're down 800 points. And it happened before. Why, in my opinion, is it happening? Because it takes a little bit of time for people to realize that what Jay Powell did is not good. It's actually quite bad. They now understand that Jay Powell sent you into recession and that a recession may be coming sooner than later. Let me explain what we learned from Jay Powell last night and why it is really going to actually get a lot worse. Last night, we learned from Jay Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, that the interest rate hikes of the Federal Reserve are now being dependent on a new benchmark, a benchmark usually not used by the Federal Reserve. CPI. CPI, the Consumer Price Index number released the Friday before, is an inflationary number. It's a pretty easy number to understand. How much is the consumers paying? The CPI last Friday spooked everyone. It came in at 8.5%. It was supposed to be 8.3%. It showed that inflation did not go down. It did not peak. It actually went higher in the month of May. That's what the Federal Reserve said. And with that, the Federal Reserve said, we're going to move very quickly and raise interest rates, not a half basis point, 3/4. It sounds logical until you understand what the CPI is, and then you realize how illogical what the Federal Reserve is doing. The CPI is dependent upon two numbers. One, consumer goods, how much you pay for food and milk and eggs at the supermarket. The second number is gasoline. Gasoline is one of the major components of the CPI. And if gas prices go higher, the CPI goes higher. If the CPI goes higher, then Jay Powell raises interest rates. If Jay Powell raises interest rates, does gasoline go down? No. Gasoline has nothing to do with interest rates. And raising the interest rates of the Federal Reserve is not going to get gasoline prices down. And if gasoline prices go up, then we repeat the process. He raises it at the Federal Reserve, and we have higher interest rates, we have higher mortgages, we can't afford homes, we can't afford cars, we go in recession. And that is phase 3 of this economy next year. Let me give you the 3 phases. Phase 1 right now, the abrupt change of this economy from a good time potentially in February to a very bad time in September. Millions of Americans who don't know what's not around or don't know that this economy is changing so quickly, so overnight, so abruptly are going to get whiplashed. They may think if they're laid off, they can go get a job next door. Not going to happen. Then they may think the stimulus from 2020 is still there. Let's recap. None of that unemployment stimulus is around anymore. FPUC, that's $600 a week on top of your existing benefits, gone. PEUC, the extra weeks of unemployment benefits, gone. PUA, independent contractors, stimulus for unemployment, gone. Yeah, it's very scary. What if you're a small business owner or an independent contractor? What about that EIDL grant? Gone. EIDL loan? Gone. LWA? Gone. PPP? Gone. What's left? None of it. None of it is around. And I really do believe that people do not watch this channel think that that stimulus is still around in some form or fashion. So they think they have a comfort, a backup if they're laid off. They're not. If you're an employee watching the show tonight, or you know someone who's an employee watching the show tonight, promise yourself 2 things. 1, think in your mind how much job security you have. Is there a likelihood you could get laid off between now and January? If there is, then please prepare accordingly. And I don't mean prepare by getting stimulus. I mean prepare what would be the backup plan then. Is there another job likely, highly likely, available for you in the next 6 months if this economy gets really bad? And is that job dependent on that business staying open? Would that business stay open? I need you to prepare accordingly. Now, for everyone who's not an employee, maybe you're a retiree, maybe you're a senior, maybe you're on SSI or SSDI, I need you to understand, you got to get the first stimulus check in every U.S. state tonight. Why? Because these people, a lot of them, are going to get laid off between phase 1 right now and phase 2 in September. And when they get laid off in September, they're going to try to come and get the stimulus. And then they're competing against you. Those 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state are for everyone. They're going to be competing against you. So you can't wait a week, a month, a day to get every 4 stimulus check I have for you in the second half of this video. Why? Because you're going to be competing against these people as soon as they become unemployed. Then come January next year, boy, big problems across the board. Now, get rid of all that flexible interest rate items at home. Next, do not raise credit card debt. Third, be concerned about bankruptcies, especially if you work for a corporation. Because today, Revlon went into corporate bankruptcy protection. It's not going to stop there. Also be worried about the codependency of our economy on foreign countries as well, as England is now raising its interest rates, the 5th consecutive hike. We haven't seen this in a very, very long time, as the British economy is now looking at 10% inflation by December. And then look at our interest rates. The 10-year Treasury note trading at 3.4% tonight. The 30-year trading up 4 basis points to 3.43. And the 2-year Treasury note surging to 3.372. Can't do it. Can't do it. In the second half of this video, we got 2 great news stories. First, I'm going to show you why the great news coming out of the Social Security Chief Actuary Stephen Goss is wonderful. Your benefits are going up a lot. $300, he says, to start. He doesn't say 300, but he says 8%, which calculates at about $300 for both of you. But I'm going to show you in the second half of this video, and you're going to do the analysis with me, why it may actually be even more. A lot more. It's great news. It's coming up in the second half. Then we're going to get those 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. You need to get lots of these checks day in, day out, over and over again. But first, before I get to that, I want to go over something very important with you, and that is gasoline. Gas prices continue to surge higher, and gasoline is the core of all the problems of this economy right now. And with no inherent solution at hand, with no policy solution lined up by the White House or anyone else, these gas prices continue to go higher. Now, let me tell you how bad this is. Gasoline is triggering a domino effect of economic calamities. And let me explain to you how. If gasoline prices go higher, then what also goes higher? You just heard it in this recording. The consumer price index number. If the consumer price index number goes higher, then what also happens? The Federal Reserve says inflation's too high. I need to raise interest rates. If interest rates go higher, then what goes on after that? You go into recession. Could you go into recession with also raising gas prices and inflation? You could. That's called stagflation. That's a very rare event. But what I want you to know tonight is that there is no contingency plan lined up by the White House or the Western allies. And with no contingency plan lined up, there's no solution at hand. Let me tell you how dire a situation this is and why I believe the gasoline prices in the United States will surge higher and will likely hit $10 a gallon at the pump and a 185 international Brent crude number. We're going to start with that data point starting right now. Gasoline is a very, very simple concept. You need it. Otherwise, if there's a shortage, the price goes up. It's very simple. If there's a shortage, the price goes up. If there's a lot of it, the price goes down. Pretty simple. So what's going on? We have a shortage of gasoline. How much? 3.5 million barrels a day. It's a lot, 3.5 million. Where can you get it? Can you get it in the United States? You can not get it in the United States. How about any of the Western allies? Do they have that amount of oil in the ground? They don't. Okay. So when was this a problem? This was very much clear a problem day one Putin invaded Ukraine. But I reported as a problem on the channel. Again, I do things ahead of time, like you and I do. We get the analysis months ahead of time. I said this is a problem on Halloween of last year. I said if Putin invades Ukraine, then we're going to have problems with oil. And if we have problems with oil, we better have gasoline lined up. I was not alone. Joe Biden told Janet Yellen the same situation. He told her get a contingency plan lined up. What do you need as soon as Putin invades Ukraine? You need 3.5 million barrels to replace the Russian oil and the reduced capacity from OPEC+. That 3.5 million barrels a day is not just for us, it's also for all the Western allies. We all need that amount. 3.5 million can't come from the United States. Here is where the policy buffoonery of the White House administration and the Western allies is going to send you into recession. They've not gotten the gasoline. They've known they had to get the gasoline since at least October, but certainly March. And tonight, with 5 options on the table, the president has not pursued any of the 5 options, nor the Western allies. The president has only done the following narrative. Trash talk the U.S. oil executives. This makes no sense economically. Why? The oil companies in the United States do not have 3.5 million barrels of gasoline in the ground. Even if they increase production, they cannot get 3.5 million barrels of gasoline out of the ground. It doesn't exist. 5 countries have it for you. So has the White House, has the Western allies pursued those 5 countries? Sort of, and then not. Or completely not at all. Or blown them off completely and said, I'm not doing business with you. Tonight, 0 for 5. They are Venezuela, removed from the equation. The White House refused to invite them to a conference here in Los Angeles last week. Brazil, same situation, gone. Iran, this one seemed like it was happening in March, and then it fell apart. The JCPOA agreement. It's agreement to remove Iranian nuclear warheads. They agreed to do it in exchange for the gasoline. It looked like it was going to happen, and then it didn't. And then OPEC Plus and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is part of OPEC Plus, but the president has made clear as of last week in Santa Monica on the airport tarmac, he is not going to Saudi Arabia to get oil. So there is no solution. Tonight, the takeaway is 3.5 million barrels of gasoline is missing every day. And every day we have more shortage than the day before. And none of the Western Allies leaders have gotten any oil lined up. They're not getting oil lined up. All these economies are going into recession, and they will stay in recession until someone gets the gasoline. Gasoline, $10 a gallon, that is my prediction. You're not hearing that anywhere else except here on this channel. Analysts are saying 185 international Brent crude. I agree with them across the board. Remember, if gasoline continues to stay higher, then your CPI is higher. Then CPI is inflation, Federal Reserve will raise interest rates, then you go to recession because you can't keep on raising interest rates to stall up the economy when the inflation is caused by gasoline. If gasoline is going up because there's a shortage, raising interest rates is not going to bring down the price of gasoline. It doesn't work. And with that, in the second half of this video, we have some really great news. A forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. You got to get it. You got to get these checks because this economy is heading to a hell in a hell basket between now and September. And then next year, we have the recession. You can't wait to get these forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state. So what do you want to do? You want to go right in this video right now and hit that subscribe button. Subscribe, because that forced stimulus check, you need to get it right now. You go right in this video and hit the subscribe button, then become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. And in the second half of this video, we're going to get these big checks one at a time and get that money right tonight. Then in the second half of this video, we're going to go over that exciting great news as your benefits checks are going up a lot. Checks are going up a lot. And I'll have the huge news of how it works, how it calculates, and why it's also in the member newsletter. Yes, it's now being added to the membership newsletter. We got a big show tonight. We're just getting started. As America's most watched show for financial news in prime time, Evenings LA continues. I'll see you back in 60 seconds. With those big checks, those forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state, and the raising up of your benefits checks, stay here, stay informed, become a member during the commercial break, and I'll see you back in 60 seconds. As America's most watched show for financial news in prime time continues.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now from the shores of Santa Monica on a big Evenings LA for June 16th, 2022. Hope you're having a beautiful night. The excitement continues from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Hope you're having a beautiful night, and stay with me all week because there is a lot of breaking news happening this week and will be with us all weekend long. A lot to know and a lot of details happening. I want you to stay on top of it and not miss a single stimulus check. Back in the month of March, viewers of this channel understood the importance of getting stimulus because that's what I teach them. They say get stimulus when the times are good, not when the times are bad, because there's a lot of money flowing and you want to wait around to deal with a stimulus stampede. You pounce and get the money when it's available. Back in the month of March, viewers said, LA, can you find us some stimulus? Can you get us some of that stimulus checks? And I did. I looked high and low and I found your stimulus checks in every U.S. state. Let's go over the eligibility of those checks. Single individual, $75,000 or less, go get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less, go get it. If you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, veterans benefits or more, go get it. Rent, own, children, without children, single, married, go get it. You qualify. Those 4 stimulus checks are in every U.S. state. And finally, the amounts. It's very important that the 4 stimulus checks be monster checks, big checks, tens of thousands of dollars, because a $600 check ain't going to pay anyone's bills. It's not going to sustain you between now and phase 2 in September. It's not going to get you to phase 3, the recession next year either. So that's why I looked high and low to get you these monster checks. And we're going to go over each of these checks one at a time, starting right now with those check A, B, C, and more. I give them a lettering system so it makes it simple for you to follow along so that you understand how to get them, so you understand what to call them, and you understand how to pounce and get each one at a time. The very first check is check A, a $6,500 to $12,000 for stimulus check in every U.S. state. Single individual, $75,000 or less, go get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less, go get it. If you rent, if you own, go get it. If you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, veterans benefits, go get it as well. How do you get it? Very simple. Become a member. Go under the video right now and click the link where it says join this channel. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Hit that join button right under the video. Then get the membership newsletter delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alerts. It's the newsletter that everyone's talking about. It has the link right in there to go in and apply for check A. But you're not going to stop with check A because you're going to go get check B. Look at this payout. $15,000 to $80,000 for a stimulus check in every U.S. state. I go for big checks. Imagine how much money $80,000 would pay for your bills this year, maybe into next year. It's a lot of money. Viewers are tracking at $66,000 to $80,000. Single individual, $75,000 less, go get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less, go get it. If you are on benefits, SSI, SSDI, veterans benefits, go get it. How do you get it? You know the routine. Subscribe, step 1. Step 2, go under this video and join and become a member. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP member. Then get that newsletter delivered to you Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. When you get the newsletter, go down in the newsletter till you find check B. When you find check B, you're going to pounce. You're going to pounce and get these incredible checks, and it sends you to the nationwide website. You choose your state, and then you go right in apply. There you go. In the case of A and B, you go right into the newsletter and you pounce, you apply. But in the case of check C, it's very similar but a little bit different. Check C is a wonderful monthly stimulus check, on average $2,000 a month over 12 months, and it's for my renters. There you go. It's for utilities, mortgage assistance, and more. And how do you get check C, and how much is it? Well, many viewers are getting $45,000. You go into the membership newsletter, you go down to check C, and it tells you where to call, what to say, and how to say it. You go right in that membership newsletter down to check C, and it tells you where to call. You're going to be making about 15 phone calls, what to say, what not to say as well. And also, it tells you how to do it. The success stories of Check C date back to the earliest days of this channel in December 2020. At that time, just like now, viewers said, LA, can you find me some money? Now, let me explain to you why these checks are so important. This is June 16, 2022. The downward spiraling of the economy through phase 1 is just underway. This is not as bad as it's going to get. September 2022 is the next worst step thereafter. Then the worst step is January 2023. You don't want to wait to September to get a stimulus check. You want to get it right now. You have to understand that September is going to resemble the lockdown of the pandemic of March 2020. Now let's compare. In the lockdown of March 2020, you were given no fair warning that you're going to lockdown. No one ever heard of a lockdown. No one ever heard of a lockdown in this economy. Overnight, you're told, go on lockdown. Immediately, people searched high and low, scampered. ran left and right looking for stimulus. I lost my home. I lost my business. I lost my car. I lost everything. I need stimulus. Give it to me quickly. You had to rush and you had no pre-warning. This time it's different. I care. You care. This community, the Purple Power community, we all care. And we are smart, we're educated, we're on top of it, we pounce, and we do things ahead of time. The pre-warning right now is that September's going to be horrific. We're going to be a lot worse in September. You get these forced stimulus checks right now, not a month from now, not a week from now. You go right under the video and become a member, and you continue to get these checks day after day, week after week. Let me show you a graphic from November of last year. This is a graphic of people that continue to get money at the time, but to this day, from 2021 all the way to today, they're still getting money. Here's Mark. He was at $25,000 at the time. I said, Mark, go get more money. He did. He then got $6,500 for utilities. And then he went back and get more money. He went to $32,000. I said, Mark, go get more money. He went, got more money. He went to $50,000. Then he got more money. He got additional sums of money, brought him to $100,000. Then he got check B, got another $60,000, went to $166,000. Here's Lorraine. She was at $105,000. She keeps on getting money every few days. She's now at $130,000. Here is Nisi. She was at $23,000. She keeps on getting money, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. She's gone to $50,000. What are they understanding so well? You don't wait. I don't care if everything looks pretty in pink. You keep on getting checks. You get a check today, you get a check tomorrow, you get a check the day after. Yesterday, one member of 2 months reached out to the volunteers and said, I haven't reached out to look for this money yet, but can you give me some guidance? The volunteer said, you've waited 2 months? You've been a member for 2 months? What are you doing? You can't wait around 2 days, 2 weeks, let alone 2 months. You got to get this money right across the board right away. A forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state, and what's important to understand is that comment from Mohammed El-Ararian early in this video where he said, silliness is going to leave people by the wayside. That's not you, it's other people. Where is that silliness going to differentiate you from other people? Silliness is people who say things like, I went on a search engine to tell me what's going on. Silliness of people saying, you know what, I just want a $50,000 MSC in my wallet because I deserve it. I want a $100,000 MSC in my wallet. Silliness is people who say, there's no money in my state because I spoke to my neighbor and the neighbor said so. Silliness is people says, you know, I just don't use a telephone, so I'm not going to ask for any stimulus. That's silliness, and those people who act in silliness are going to be left by the wayside really dramatically. It also comes in the form of corporate silliness, as corporations think that they can gouge you by raising their price points to give themselves the same profit level, and guess what's going to happen? You ain't buying the product. You ain't going to buy the product, and that is where corporate silliness is also leaped and bound. This is what's going to happen in the next 90 days. In the next 90 days, you're going to see higher unemployment. That means more people asking for stimulus. Higher gas prices. That means more people asking for stimulus. And then interest rates surging out of control. Also in the next 90 days, price of goods going higher. Recessionary winds picking up. Mortgage rates surging dramatically. Also in the next 90 days, you're going to see consumer confidence drop, spending drop, income spots dropping. Do not expect in the next 90 days that gas will go lower. It won't. Do not expect inflation to go lower. It won't. Do not expect any fast action from Congress. That's why you got to get that forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. You can't wait across the board. The Federal Reserve's announcement yesterday was exactly what we thought was going to happen. But when that Federal Reserve made that announcement yesterday, what did it happen? What happened with this economy? And why did situations change so dramatically left and right? What's at issue is that people really just do not get it. They do not get it. They have been left in a vacuum of 0% interest rates for a generation. 0% interest rates that generate a boom of economies worldwide, and they think that wonders are going to stay there indefinitely. We learned today what many people are calling interest rate independence day, that whether it is the Bank of Switzerland or the Federal Reserve of the United States, they are relieving interest rate support and they're letting them slide. And they're letting them go higher. And as interest rates go higher, then inflation is not going to come down. It ain't going to come down. That inflation at issue is being caused by gasoline. And as gasoline remains at shortage levels never seen in this economy, and no solution is being pursued by the Western allies, then expect the situation to get worse by the minute. How bad will the recession of 2023 be? It'll be very bad. Because I believe that unlike anything you've seen of a generation, there's a lot of bubble-like environment out there. There's a lot of really silliness being repeated left and right. And that silliness is where people really get left confused. Where did they get left confused? Well, if they bought into the housing market earlier this year thinking that housing is just here to stay and is always going to go up, they're getting clamored because now they can't sell the house. They have to slash the prices and no one can afford the home. In the auto industry, really silliness, where the auto manufacturers believe they can increase the price of the car because their material costs are going up and that you're going to buy. You're not. You're not. And that's why they're down. And you can't afford to buy the car on debt. The White House is saying that going after the oil executives is going to bring down the price of gasoline. It's not. They can't have gasoline to pump out of the ground. That amounts to 3.5 million barrels a day. That people think that their jobs are secured and think that they're laid off, they can ask for a salary raise. Not going to happen. They're going to get laid off and there may not be another job lined up. And the Federal Reserve believing that they can reduce inflation by raising interest rates when the inflation is caused by gasoline. And how bad is that gasoline going to be? Expect $10 a gallon. Expect $10 a gallon. It was back in the month of March. I said $5 is not sustainable. Well, $10 is absolutely horrific. Amongst all this, there is a glimmer of really great news. That is that 4 stimulus check in every U.S. state. Get it right now. Become a member. I care for you. The membership of this channel cares for one another. Together as a family, you are educated. You're pouncing. You're getting these checks. You're going back and getting checks. You're doing things ahead of time and preparing accordingly. But we also have another great story tonight. Broke on this channel 2 nights ago. And it's this. That checks are going up. Your benefits checks are going up, and I'm going to go over the details of that starting right now. It's huge. It's a little bit complicated, I fully admit, but it's astronomical, and it may even go higher. Let me tell the details of how this started and where it's going. It's a lot to know, but it's a lot of exciting news. It starts with understanding that the numbers of Social Security are determined by one real key person. His name is Stephen Gross, and he is the Chief Actuary of the Social Security Administration. And he gives you guidance on what's going to happen with your benchmarks. Your current benchmark is COLA, and your current benchmark of COLA is always announced in December. But COLA is not determined in December. It's determined in September, based upon 3 months of data. The 3 months are July, August, and September. What is the data it's dependent upon? The COLA read of those 3 months. What is that COLA read dependent upon itself in those 3 months? CPI-W. Wait a second, CPI-W, that sounds familiar. Isn't that like CPI? It is. CPI-W is a subsection of that CPI, which you already know from earlier recording was the number released last Friday. That is an unemployment, that is a inflationary number. Last Friday, 8.5%. Wall Street expecting 8.3%. So what does Goss say in brand new comments this week? He says that based upon that number from last week, he believes that the CPI-W, which determines COLA, may signal that by July, August, and September, your benchmark for COLA this year will be 8%. Wow. 8%. 8% would generally basically mean SS300 is happening. SS300 or SS200, depending on how much you get for benefits. This is huge. Your benefits would go up $300 more per month in lifetime, and it's absolutely incredible. But it may actually be more than that. I'm going to go over all the details of those numbers right now. The details start with the exciting elements of where the calculation's coming from. July, August, and September. And let me tell you what is at issue. If Goss is undervaluing the CPI in July, August, and September, then the number's actually higher. Who thinks he's undervaluing the number? An independent group, a nonpartisan group that determines Social Security benefits, and they are called the Seniors League. They believe the number is going to come in at 8.6%. Wow. Why? And what do I say? I say close to 9%. I believe that the number is going to come in close to 8.9%. Why do I say 8.9%? Let's do the calculation together. I bet you can figure it out yourself as well. We need to figure out and guesstimate and predict what the CPI-W will be for July, August, and September. It was 8.3% in June. It was 8.3% in June. So what could it be in July? Well, Jay Powell raised interest rates, so he thinks he's getting it down. But you already know the CPI is dependent upon gasoline. Is gasoline higher this month than last month? It is. So if gasoline's higher this month than last month, and if Jay Powell, what he's doing is not working, then the CPI is going to be higher. Yeah. What about the month after this? Well, in a month after that, August, Federal Reserve doesn't meet. And if the White House and the Western Allies do not have a gasoline replace, then gasoline goes even higher in August. September, basically the impact of these items are felt about 30 days out. My takeaway is that based upon the current situation, the political positioning of the White House and the Western Allies, I don't believe they're getting gasoline replaced. I think we're going to still have a gas shortage all the way into August. 3.5 million barrels are going to be missing. That means that gasoline price is going to go higher. That's why I said $10 a gallon. 185 international Brent crude. If gasoline goes higher, you know what happens. CPI goes higher. If CPI goes higher, CPI-W goes higher. If CPI-W goes higher, then COLA goes higher. And there you go. I believe that Goss will have undervalued the number for July, August, and September. It may be closer to 8.9%. Ultimately, it's not a guessing game. We'll see the results in July and August, September as a team. And if that's the case, then your benefits won't be $300 SS300. No. They'll be going upwards of $350 or more. It's incredible, and we're just getting started because also on top of that is two new congressional pieces of legislation introduced in the last 48 hours. John Larson, Democrat out of Connecticut, and Bernie Sanders out of Vermont, and Liz Warren out of Massachusetts, introducing two pieces of legislation to do what? To swap COLA for inflation. Now, LA, this sounds a little confusing because I thought you said CPI-W is really inflation. It is, but they want to track it to CPI-E, not CPI-W. And CPI-E is really close to inflation, really close to inflation. And that still would actually give you a little bit more lift up across the board. Wow, incredible news. Here's what you need to know as we start a new evening and we're going into a big night. We have shows continuing throughout the evening with Evenings LALATE at 5 o'clock nightly, America's Watch Show for financial news in prime time. Then Evenings Countdown at 6, Strange Cinemas at 7, 8 o'clock is Evenings Extra, 9 o'clock is Sunset. We continue throughout the night with other shows, and then we're back tomorrow morning with Early Mornings LA on air at 4 a.m., mornings live at 9, and then at noon we have, at 11 o'clock, we have Home LA. But you need to do a couple of things right now. You have to go under this video and hit that subscribe button. This is the channel that does it all. Tells you where the economy is tonight, where the economy is going, and gets you the money. Step 2, hit that little bell under the video so that you make sure you have all notifications set to all on. Actually, the bell's at the front of the channel. Hit that bell so it's all notifications. Number 3, look for that membership newsletter tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. You'll get a YouTube alert that says new LA post. Lower on the post says here is a new post. Click the post. It sends you into the newsletter and go get those checks starting today. Tomorrow, get more checks. The day after that, continue to get checks. Be in the live chats. Inspire other people. Give that element of positivity, that element of inspiration. Post your success story. Get people motivated because this is just like day one of the pandemic. Day one of this pandemic, when I pressed record on the very first day of this channel, people said, LALATE, until you came around, no one was telling me pick up the phone and call for my EIDL grant alone. I thought I was the only person whose application was stuck in that vortex of 330. You, with that smile and that positivity, said pick up the phone and call again. You were telling me to call 8 times a day. And I never would have thought to do something like that until someone said, do it. And you kept on motivating me, do it. And I did it. And I got the money. I got a lot of the money because you kept on motivating me to do it. That's what doing this is all about. Getting analysis ahead of time, preparing ahead of the storm, moving yourself financially into the position that you're prepared for the storm, and then getting the money ahead of the storm arriving. Over the last year, I've gotten the predictions for this economy very correct, and I'll continue to do so because I care for you, because I care to give you correct analysis. I never once said the Doge is going to go to $1. That's someone else. I never once said don't get paid by your employer in cash, get paid in crypto. I never said that. That was someone else. I never said buy for a house in the height of the economy because housing is always a great investment. I never said that. Someone else. I never said put all your money in stocks and showed big stock portfolios and things on the screens and say buy, 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 buy. Everything is great. Dip, 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 dip. That was someone else. I said this is what's happening. In December 2021, a massive inflationary hit will happen at 8%. I said that in February of last year. I was right. I said earlier this year in January, I'll continue to repeat this until I'm dead in the grave, that I was the only one in financial broadcasting predicting recession for 2023. And I said in February this year, no one was saying it anywhere. No bank, no financial analyst, nowhere. I said it's coming next year. It's coming now. And now everyone's talking about it. I said that J Powell's not going to get interest rates down. And he's not going to get inflation down. That inflation is being caused by gasoline, and the gasoline's not going to come down. Well, I've been saying that since February. Now this is June, and none of those events have happened. It's exactly as I predicted. And this last week, I said unemployment claims were going to come in at 230,000 new jobless claims this morning. And what did they come in at? Let's look at the graph again. I said 230,000. Wall Street said 217. The graphic reveals this is what happened this morning. Dow Jones down 800 points. It's going to continue. Unemployment claims came exactly as I predicted, and gasoline went higher as also predicted. You need to be with a channel that cares. You need to be a channel that has the right information, and you're going to need to be with a channel that's growing. Next stop for this channel is number 2 most watched financial news channel in America. Take us there. We're heading there. We're going there. As a family, as a community, let's get it together. Let's do it. Let's tell people to come on over. This kid has all the correct analysis. He tells you where this economy is going. You're prepared. It's a loving community where everyone works together to get the money and get it done right away. It's LALATE, and it's evenings LALATE every night at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Stay informed, stay blessed. Make sure you become a member right under that video, and stay with me as the programming continues through the night. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.